Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to some Toronto Raptors news. And that's right, we have a Toronto Raptors news update. I know what some people might be thinking, Ben, what are you reacting to Dragic again for? We saw your video last night. We saw the report from Doug Smith. We read through the article if we had the subscription. However, there's more news that has dropped on Goran Dragic, and some of it has a lot of Raptors fans excited that we could potentially be getting a significant return, more significant than we ever could have hoped for Goran Dragic. Now, I'm going to dive in deeper into that and see if that's really the truth, if all these tweets that people are sending around on Reddit and Twitter actually mean this is coming. But there was also another report that indicates why all of these teams are suddenly interested in Goran Dragic. However, before we do that, we got a big announcement, especially for people in Ontario and expanding across the country. But pickup basketball is back. And not just basketball, any sports. And we are fortunate enough to partner with Javelin Sports, a startup or a company. They're more than a startup now. They're an application based out of Ontario. The founders are from Western, and we have links in the description as well as the comment section for you guys to be able to download this app. If you guys are interested in playing pickup sports, especially now with everything opened up, things getting back to normal, at least a little bit. Everyone wants to go outside, play with some teams. You can join the Javelin Sports app using the link below to join in with a team, to find people in your local areas to play some basketball with, to play volleyball, ball hockey, whatever it is you want to do. And you can specifically book the gym on the app, so there's no hassle with going into some gyms and then having 40 odd people in there. You can book it yourself through this application, book the times you want to go to. It's the perfect app for this current time. We're going to be talking about it a lot over the next couple weeks, so definitely download that in the description in the comment section below. Really helps us out, and we'll be talking about it on the lives and stuff. We're also going to be using it to get some Raptors Digest scrims going, so if you want to be a part of that, you got to download the app. So that's that, but we're diving into the news. We're diving into this Goran Dragic update, and as I mentioned prior, right, there was a report that came out last night that we reacted to, and this was the Doug Smith report. Raptors finding great interest in Goran Dragic deal before the NBA trade deadline. However, a bunch of people said, Ben, what are you talking about? Are we really going to put this much faith into Doug Smith? Is this just a plant for Masai Ujiri to get the interest up on Goran Dragic, as we know Daryl Morey has been doing with the young socialite the entire year? Right? Is this what Masai Ujiri is doing? Because Doug Smith, a local reporter, does he really have the insights on these other teams? However, so there was some speculation. We brought that up in the previous video, but it did get us excited because it was looking bleak and barren for Goran Dragic's potential trade market out there for the last little while. Obviously, a report came out a couple months ago that there was zero interest in him, so that got us a little bit excited, but you had to take it with a little bit of grain of salt, unless it's from Rogers or other guys that we'll dive into on this video, right? Then you can't get too hyped. However, people started to get excited today when a report came out, and this tweet's from Pascal propaganda, not to be mistaken with Precious propaganda. But in discussing Clippers point guard trade options, Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, who's a guy that's pretty locked in with the NBA, said there is too much interest in league wide for the Clippers to actually make a trade that would return any value to the Toronto Raptors. So if Kevin O'Connor's reporting it on top of Doug Smith, right, then it's got to be true. Then it's got to be something we can soak in, we can get juiced about as Toronto Raptors fans. However, I did some more digging. I did some more looking, and I don't know if that's necessarily the thing. We got some other stuff we're going to break down in this video, but I don't know if that's the thing that should be really getting Toronto fans, Raptors fans excited, because if you look specifically at the article where he mentioned this up in this tweet, whether it's from the Pascal propaganda or other people talking about it, I've seen it all over Reddit. If you actually look at the article that he said, he essentially is saying that the information he's using off of this, finding great interest in a myriad of differently structured deals, he's referencing the Doug Smith article, right? That's the thing that's getting all these Raptors fans, and myself included, hyped. I was reading this at work, and I saw, okay, if Kevin O'Connor's saying this as well, much more likely if two definitely siloed reporters, I don't know if they're sharing information with each other. If they're reporting this independently, then that's a lot more likely. However, Kevin O'Connor was specifically citing Doug Smith in that article. So that's That's the one thing. So this big deal that a lot of Toronto Raptors fans were kind of hoping, now that the great interest is there, could we have a bidding war for Goran Dragic? Unlikely to happen. However, Kevin O'Connor did go on to mention the Clippers as a potential team to be interested. There's been other players named, which I'm going to dive into as well from other reports, but there was a reason from Mark Stein, which broke down why these teams, because obviously we didn't hear anything about Goran Dragic, any suitors for Goran Dragic this entire year, and we did have something from Mark Stein essentially break down why the teams would be interested in Goran Dragic now at this point. And from the Stein line, it's believed that Goran Dragic will be bought out by the team that acquires him, and should a trade materialize. So people aren't interested in Goran Dragic, the player. Our thought process was correct, right? There's not a bunch of teams out here that are going to be salivating over a potential Dragic to their organization to be a game changer, a playoff contender, bring in Goran Dragic to put them over the top. It's not going to happen. I mean, look at the guy's stats. Right? If you look at the guy's stats, he's only played 5 games this season, 8 points, not a strong defender, 28% from the three-point line? Nah, you're not getting a lot of value out of that. You're not getting a lot of people interested in that. $19 million, it's just not going to happen. However, the reason why these teams are interested in bringing in a Dragic is because, especially if he's going to be bought out, he's on a 1-year deal. You can take cap off the books. And the Toronto Raptors right now, even though they're a little bit above the cap, and they will be next season, they're in a position where they can take in some serious cap space, because it's not this offseason where we have to re-sign a bunch of our players. It's the season after, right? So we can trade Dragic's expiring this year for a bigger contract, for the next 2 seasons, right? So other teams have more flexibility this particular offseason, and then we bring in a guy, maybe get an asset on top of it. Maybe that guy is someone that we can actually play on our bench, right? Buy someone that's actually good, and then it works win-win for each side. So the first sort of trade, and it's involved in the Kevin O'Connor talks, is specifically, which was brought up in that article, is Eric Bledsoe. And this is something I've seen people talk about, because Bledsoe's a big name. A lot of people are low on him, but there's still some people that think Bledsoe's solid because, he in theory is good. He's on a big contract. I don't know. But for those people, I just want to show them Bledsoe's stats. This season, not great. Not great. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 32% from the field, 42% from the field, 32% from beyond the three-point line, and not good. Not good, but in theory, if you're trading Dragic for him, and maybe you collect a pick back from the LA Clippers, because we know they're trying to be buyers this off season, as that window with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, especially if there's another missed season due to injury, where it doesn't look like Paul George or Kawhi are coming back this year, that window's closing, so they're going to be certainly buyers this offseason, so they might be more willing to part with maybe a young player in Coffee alongside a Bledsoe trade, or a first-round pick, which we know would be valuable for the Toronto Raptors, even though I don't think they have any firsts in the coming years whatsoever to offer us. But if we can get one of their young guys plus Bledsoe back, we eat his salary and see what happens. The young guy better be good. That's who you're trading for, but I don't see that deal happening. I don't see anything like that. Bledsoe, I think, could be a guy that's way more playable than Dragic, solely off the fact, for as bad as he's fallen off a cliff in recent years on offense, he's still a strong defender. So there's one thing. He has had some decent games at times this season for the Clippers too, but I'm saying no. I'm saying no for that trade. That's one that I'm giving a hard no to. But there's a second one which I think is more intriguing and more potentially likely that we go after, and it's with the Washington Wizards, and it's for Spencer Dinwiddie, sending Dragic out there to be bought out by the Wizards, and then we bring in Spencer Dinwiddie, who is 13 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and the reason why the Wizards could potentially do this deal, because on paper, the stats aren't comparable. Dragic is way worse. Why would you buy him out? But Dinwiddie signed a big contract with the Washington Wizards last season, and he's a guy that the Raptors were reportedly interested, not only at last year's trade deadline, but this offseason. We need a guard that can come in and be solid off the bench, right? Malachi Flynn hasn't really been able to do that this season. Delano Banton's a bit up and down, and we're trying to not necessarily like win now and sacrifice all of our future assets or anything like that, but we're trying to make a playoff push this year. That's something that we're trying to do without a doubt. And maybe Dinwiddie could be a guy off the bench to do it. He's been struggling when he's been on the court with Bradley Beal. The Wizards they're tethered to Bradley Beal. They want to keep him on their squad. So that's something that we could potentially snatch up, get in there. If Dinwiddie and Beal aren't meshing, maybe we get Dinwiddie. His contract is something that's a little bit yucky, a bit something you might want to avoid, but he definitely fills a hole off the bench. He's going to be consistent. And the Raptors have been interested in him in the past. And I'll pull up his stats once again because he's an intriguing player, right? I brought up his numbers there. But 31% from the three-point line. He seems to always splash his threes against us. 39% from the field. But if you look at his numbers when Bradley Beal is in the game, they're all like 20, 22, 23 plus. He's running the offense and all those sorts of things. Maybe, some people still consider Fred VanVleet more of an off-ball guard than a point guard, even though he's been amazing at facilitating the basketball this season. But maybe if you want to push Fred VanVleet a little bit more in his role that he's had in prior seasons and keep a longer defender, because Dinwiddie is strong on defense. He's long, he's wiry. He could be a guy that could potentially be brought in. But if you look at Dinwiddie's contract, it could hurt us long term if he continues to struggle and if he's coming off the bench and isn't playing that strong. So I don't know. I definitely would prefer that to a Bledsoe deal. Let me know what you guys think. There's a lot of potential scenarios. We're going to be breaking down all of the latest reports on Goran Dragic or any Toronto Raptors. So subscribe to Raptors Digest. We greatly appreciate it. Check out the Instagram, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. As mentioned, Javelin Sports, download the application. It helps us out big time. If you use the link in our description, our comment section, we're hoping, we're getting some cool games going with you guys building up the community, and it helps us out big time. So definitely download the application. You're gonna love it. It's a quality app. Going through it, it's something that Riker and I were pretty juiced about partnering, because especially when we enter Toronto, and they're going to be expanding all across Canada, right? But once we enter Toronto, that's something we definitely could have used, and something all you guys can use. So definitely, if you're watching this video, download the application. Helps us out. But anyways, it's enough of me rambling. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.